The Aurora Theater shooting massacre is the worst thing to come out of a Colorado theater since Copper Mountain. Oh wait, I better not use that. I'll offend too many people. Copper Mountain is the worst movie I've ever watched outside of porno. Not all porno. Some porn movies are actually better movies. I'm not kidding. There are some porn films that if you cut out all the actual sex would have better editing, audio levels, structure, cinematography, lighting, acting, directing, producing, wardrobe, variety of spectacular locations, excitement, humor, and relatability than Copper Mountain, which plays pretty much like a ski resort promotional video that's so bad you'll be hard-pressed to summon the stuff necessary to suffer through this diarrhea. I've seen so many bad movies in my life. So bad it's funny, so bad it's good, so bad it's forgettable. But I think this honestly is by far the worst movie. It has created for me a whole new category of bad movies. So bad, I can't hate it. It's like it's the One Ring of Sauron, and I know it's no good for me, but I can't forget it. I can't let it go. I have to keep it secret. Keep it safe. Anyone who watches this movie must seriously consider what a powerful weapon they possess. You can ruin a perfectly happy person's entire month simply by having the poor bastard watch this movie under the pretense that it's one of Jim Carrey's funniest films. Why make such a big fuss about it, you ask? Well, yeah, I'm not gonna waste my time with any and every bad movie I come across. Who cares, right? Well, apart from being the very worst movie I've ever seen, it also happens to be Jim Carrey's first movie. Apart from a made-for-TV movie called Rubberface. But made-for-TV movies don't count or they would dominate every discussion and we'd never get to grade bad theatrical movies appropriately. I know a lot of people think his first movie was Once Bitten, or maybe his small role in Peggy Bundy Got Married, but it's actually this shit. If you know anything about Jim Carrey's earliest work, you'd know he was a very eager performer, with buckets of energy, charm, and great control of his face. He would do some of the most extreme facial twists and impressions, yet never seemed to make himself laugh or cry or break character throughout entire routines and gags. He's always been a very committed entertainer. He also had a very hard road to his big break, including his mom's chronic illness, dad lost his job, had to quit high school to become a janitor, and living out of a van with his whole family. As with many hardworking actors, sometimes you have to take what you can get, and this is no exception. You need to make connections, and hopefully a paycheck. All you can do is hope your first couple of movies ain't out-of-control stinkers so you can get to the thing that makes you the real bling. How he avoided the career-busting molten fecal matter of this colossal mess is nothing short of a miracle. In fact, this is also the film debut of Alan Thicke as he co-stars with Carrey and somehow gets the job on Growing Pains after this. I'm not sure where to begin with the terribleness, so perhaps I better get what little positive stuff I can say about it out of the way first. Right about now you might be thinking, well, Jim Carrey's the star of the movie, right? And just look at that DVD cover. Look at that face. It can't be that bad. And even if it is, he can't be that bad. Maybe it'll be like a subpar performance. But it'll be cute because it's so early in his career and he looks and acts like a college freshman. Even if somehow he isn't funny at all, and every single thing he does in every scene doesn't make any sense at all, it has to be watchable at least, right? Yeah. My mom said the same thing when she found this movie in the $5 bin at the store. What she didn't realize was how that train of thought would leave her in a nursing home after the film slowly sucked her brain through a straw over the course of 60 minutes. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This movie is just 60 minutes long. In case you're wondering, the average movie is at least 90 minutes long. But I swear on Jesus' clean-shaven balls that it will feel like a 3-hour roller coaster that keeps malfunctioning every 8 seconds but doesn't end. Until it does end. And when it does finally end, you feel just like the plot feels. Unloved and worthless. But enough beating around the bush. Let's jump right in. Ha ha ha. No, seriously, let's move on to the fucking movie. Number 1, the pros. Like I said, there's little I can say is actually good about this. Everything, and I mean everything, is so amateur. It's hard to believe this movie was even made. Who would greenlight this? I mean, really, what kind of thinking does it take to say yes to this idea? It's not like there's some big name attached to it. It's not like the premise is ripe with excitement and fantasy. It's just a ski resort. No one had ever heard of Jim Carrey or Thicke before. There are a couple of people in there that may have some star power, but they're certainly not actors. And even then, they're not the stars of the movie. So are there any positives? Well, the band was good, I guess. Where do I begin with this? Okay, about half of this movie's runtime, that's about 25 to 30 minutes, is spent watching this band play whole songs. The band has absolutely nothing to do with the plot, the story, the main characters, or anything. But I suppose I can say they played well. And the recordings used in the movie were actually of the band actually playing in the scene. And normally I'm kind of a sucker for that sort of thing. Kinda like the Lone Rangers at the end of Airheads. You can just tell that Brendan Fraser is actually singing in the scene, and Adam Sandbag is actually playing the drums. I'm not sure about Buscemi playing the bass though. Either way, it really helps me get into the scene whether I like the music or not. It almost makes me forget I'm watching a movie, and it starts to feel like I'm there with them. Like, for a few seconds, they feel like real people, and not just a story anymore because there's an extra effort put into making it feel genuine. Now, I wouldn't call what happens in Copper Mountain a home run by any means, since it tends to feel like I'm stuck watching a music video DVD of some band my aunt's friend's neighbor likes. But at least the realness is okay, I guess. And the band is actually a good band. They play with a few different singers that I hate, but other people might enjoy, like Ronnie Hawkins and Rita Coolio. In fact, I hated Ronnie Hawkins after watching this movie, but I saw him in another special where the same band was playing, and I'd be damned if I didn't actually start to like the old bastard, so... I can't believe I found something nice to say about this flick. Is this how Gollum started with the ring? Oh my god. The 60-minute running time. That's a good thing. Kind of. It's hard to sit through the entire 60 minutes. Hell, the first time I tried watching this dump, I couldn't make it past 30. It took daring my mailman to watch the whole thing before I could do it myself. But if this ogre of a movie had been 90 minutes, or 100, or 1,000, 60 minutes was a good thing. Jim Carrey's Sammy Davis Jr. impersonation. Anyone who has anything to say about this movie tends to bring up the same positive. See, the band is setting up the stage and crap like that, and Carrey figures he'll just stroll on stage and start using the live microphone completely unmolested by the band around him. Well, one guy does talk to him for a second, but doesn't seem to mind once Carrey begins. When you put aside the obvious problems with the realism of this scene, it still isn't very entertaining. He sings Mr. Bojangles for some time while doing a Sammy Jr. impression, and I guess all alone is fine, but the scene is so confusing and meaningless that it actually only hurts the movie further. See, Carrey's whole thing in this film is supposed to be that he's nervous around women.
I get nervous and I
always says or does the wrong thing, can't relax, and that really sucks because he's trying to get laid before he turns 50 and still hasn't banged Emma Stone yet.
This is a message for Emma Stone. I just wanted to let you know that I think you're all the way beautiful. And if I were a lot younger, I would marry you. We would have chubby little freckle-faced kids. We'd laugh all day long, go camping and play Yahtzee, tell ghost stories by the fire. And the sex...
But I guess it's a good impression. I don't know. Seems stupid to me. Like, couldn't it have been a song about, skiing, or winter snow, or wild vacations, or maybe being awkward, being smooth, getting the girl, never getting the girl, or even something about a love of music, which would have at least tried to tie together the band activity with the characters and what I'm forced to refer to as the plot. See how hard it is to find something good? Jesus. I'd rather jam my foot in the rear wheel of a speeding Harley covered in flames and screaming off a cliff of the Grand fucking Canyon. And a few of the girls were kind of attractive. Number 2, the characters. Both Alan Thicke and Jim Carrey start the film on the road from an airport to this Club Med ski resort in Colorado. Yes, this resort apparently was once a real place. I don't want to get into it or why it closed. This shit doesn't matter. And we find out at some point that Alan Thicke's name is supposed to be Jackson Reach and Jim Carrey's name is Bobby Todd. Of course, unless you make the effort to remember these forgettable names, you'll just keep referring to them as Thicke and Carrey as I do. And if somehow you do remember and use these character names, like anyone who saw this in theaters might have done since the actors were completely unknown, then it can't help their characters much to have the ladies' man character Thicke using a name that makes me think of a toothbrush fighting crime, or an awkward, lovable, unlucky in love Carrey with a name that sounds like he killed his own grandparents with a kitchen knife because they wouldn't give him the remote control. In the same introduction scene, they flat out tell us that Reach is a more confident, outgoing guy who thinks of himself as a ladies' man, and Todd is a nervous but warm ladies' man wannabe. Why not have their names be something simple, but with a subtle edge to it, like Jack Montana or Troy Manson? And that's just me brainstorming. Create some direct imagery that you might not notice right away, but your brain would. See, it's not supposed to be a brilliant literary masterpiece or ultra magnus opus of a screenplay. You can draw a straight line like that with the names and help the audience just have a good time knowing what they're in for. Steffler, anyone? Jack could symbolize a popular twist on a rather average name John, while Montana could stand for a great player, or a great mountain that's beautiful but ultimately useless. Something like Troy Manson would have been good for Carrey because Troy's like, Trojan. Like the name of the condom, which is used for sex, which Carrey desperately needs. And Manson could imply that his character is gonna be a little eccentric and atypical. Kind of like that dangerous cult leader that started out as a robber turned hippie turned Scientologist turned convicted felon. Marilyn Manson! There are other people here who you might call characters technically, but they really just stand around and occasionally release a couple of lines. There's zero development with them. Even less than with Carrey and Thicke. Honestly, I can't even say much about them at all, because so little is done with them other than having them stand in front of the camera. No importance or consequence is given to any character other than the bare scraps they can manage to afford to the main characters, so I won't bother with them until they come up in the plot. You know what? I changed my mind, actually. I can't take this anymore. The disc must be destroyed. It's awful. Just so awful. I mean, you shouldn't be burdened with news of this movie if you survived this long without seeing it. I must find it. Where did I put it? I was supposed to keep it secret and safe and shit. Where are you? You poisoned my soul. You're poisonous. I have to find this poisonous DVD and destroy it. Oh, there, I found you, you fuck. I found you. You thought you could get away, but I'll never let you. No one can have you. No one can have my poisonous there. It's mine. I have to keep it from the world. Yeah, but they should know about it, but never see it. Yes. Yeah, yes, poisonous. Yes. Continued in part 2.